Good morning, Sophia and Gabby. Thanks so much for being here. How is everything?
Thanks, Adrian. Everything's good. How are things with you?
Things are
Hi,
great.
everything's okay.
Gabby, down in Argentina, you've got the wonderful sun beaming down behind you. I wish I was there with you.
Yeah, you should come anytime.
That's
Post
right.
COVID.
Both of you.
Next year, I'll be there.
Okay.
But it's great to see that we've got so many people joining today's webinar. Thank you for being here. I see Betty and Emma and Eva and Gloria and Paul and Raul. Let us know where you're dialing in from. Use the chat functionality and say hello. We love to know where folks are dialing in from. And maybe also let us know, are you a translator? Are you a buyer of language and translation services? I'd love to get a quick breakdown of who we've got joining the call. And while you share a little bit about yourself, we'll introduce ourselves. I'm Adrian Cohn and I head up the marketing team at Smartling. And I'm just really excited to talk with you today about our new transcreation tool. Sophia, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, so my name is Sophia. I'm a product manager here at Smartling, and I've been working on developing the Transcreation tool. I actually used to be on the language services team here at Smartling as well, so I know the transcreation process intimately from both sides.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Gabby.
Yeah, hi, I'm an Argentinian translator, freelance translator. I have been working with Smartling for 5 years now. And I have been helping them with the development, with the testing of the tool.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's so great to have you here, Gabby. And for those of you who don't know, Gabby is featured in our wonderful book, Move the World with Words, as is Jean-Francois, who I see is on the call. It's great to see you, Jean. And I'm looking forward to talking with you guys about our transcreation tool. For those of you who've joined, feel free throughout the entire call to ask questions. We're here to make this next 45 minutes or so productive for you. So if you have questions, jump into the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or you can feel free to use the chat functionality. We love to hear your comments, your questions, everything like that. So without further ado, just to give you an idea of what we're going to do on today's call, we're going to give you an overview of what is transcreation. We're going to talk a little bit about how transcreation has been made before in the past, and then we're going to talk about the future of transcreation and the new tool that we've just built and released to the marketplace and how you can take advantage of it. So let's dive in. So first and foremost, the new transcreation tool is an all new interface to write creative translations. And we're super excited to have released this functionality because what we're seeing is that creativity is on the rise. The entire present future is fueled by digital experiences. And we all know this as consumers, because whenever we want to go somewhere or order something on for ourselves or for someone else, we're typically doing at this point on our phones. I personally am ordering food to my apartment, whether it's groceries or from a restaurant, on my cell phone. And if I'm shopping, I'm typically doing it through e-commerce these days. And all of these digital experiences are powered by content. Every single app, every single website is powered by content. And of course, there is a wide range of content, and there's a wide range of tools that can be utilized to translate that content. And I kind of love this slide, and maybe Sophia, you can work with me on this, but like there's everything from user-generated content that our customers are working with all the way through brand copy. Sophia, how do you think about the type of translation quality that we apply to our customers' content types?
Yeah, I think one of the things we like to say here is that while all content is important, not all of it is treated equally. And that's really important for a really sound localization strategy. So here you can see Adrian's graph just shows the the relationship between speed and quality in comparison to the type of content that we're talking about. So this tool is specifically designed for what Adrian has noted here as brand copy. So this is the super high touch stuff, the slogans that you're going to post on all of your sites, on every single app. And it is really about that relationship to speed as well. This is, when you're translating this, you need to really take that time, that care, the research, all of that goes into it versus, you know, user generated copy, which is reviews and things for your site, which, while are still important, might not be seen by the same amount of people and might not be as critical to your brand in the same way. So you can really attack that at much faster pace for translation.
Yeah, well, what's really cool is that there are some pieces of content, as you mentioned, Sophia, that every single person will see if they interact with your brand. And some of you may have seen this before. I used it in a previous webinar, but it's just so good. This is what I saw when I recently opened Shake Shack's mobile application. And I'm curious to get some audience participation here. If you were the brand copywriter trying to sell this product that you see here, this new shake that's available for a limited time, what would be your headline? Go ahead and throw it into the chat. How would you describe this new product? How would you market it so that people go to Shake Shack and order this new smoothie based on the image that you see associated with it? I'll give you a couple seconds here. Let's shake things up is one offer. Instagram worthy. What's more? Wants more. Awesome. These are great suggestions. And here we go. Another one. S'more goodness. That's good. Yeah, it takes a minute to get the creative juices coming, but as they start to come, they'll flow. Shake s'more. Everest on a cup. I love that one, Betty. I haven't seen that one yet. That's great. Well, let me show you what Shake Shack put together. They put together Gimme S'more, which is clearly a play on words and an alliteration here. And I personally think it's awesome. I love this. I love this kind of marketing. And this is exactly where transcreation comes into play, because transcreation is the process of translating the meaning, intent, style, and tone of the source text rather than the actual words itself. And the result is meant to be emotive and impactful, and oftentimes it's going to be different from the source. Whereas translation, as you all know, is the process of translating words or text from one language into another. And when you think about the requirements of creating translations versus transcreations, there's a lot riding on this. And there are a lot of things that you have to do that are different. And even though our CAT tool is amazing, it's cloud-based, you can access your glossary and style guides, you can communicate with the translator. There are limitations to the CAT tool when it comes to the requirements of transcreation. And Sophia, maybe you can help me out on this. What are some of those? What are some of the things that folks are doing when they're translating content, and why is the CAT tool a good tool for those specific requirements?
Yeah, so the CAT tool we built specifically to help translators go quickly but consistently, with the emphasis on efficiency but maintaining that quality. So we measure the success of our CAT tool really on how fast a translator can translate a word, how our quality checks, how our other features, like, for example, pre-populating and machine translation before you start working on it, auto-propagating repetitions, all of these features that make the CAT tool so strong are really based around turning these accurate translations quickly. However, as we discussed with transcreation, that's really not the goal here.
Exactly. The goal is and it really revolves around the content again, because like when you're using the CAT tool, you're writing landing pages or blogs or marketing emails. It's not the punny and witty content that will require a back translation so that the client can understand the tonality or intent. But the transcreation tool, we created it because there are unique requirements for creating transcreations. You're writing taglines, you're writing slogans, you're writing titles or product names. That's important for companies to be creating that type of content. And when you're transcreating it, you want to make sure the intent and style of the content matches what your brand is looking for. So having the ability to add a back translation or create multiple options for the target, and then have the ability to communicate and select a preference for which transcreation would resonate most with the audience are essential tools. And we didn't learn this ourselves. We learned this in partnership with our customers and dozens of translators who informed the way that we went about building the new transcreation tool. So Sophia, why don't you walk us through how transcreations have been created and what's changing?
Yeah, so as you can see here, transcreation has historically been done in a spreadsheet. This is actually an example of something that I did with Adrian, and I feel like a few translators on this call might remember. But the book that Adrian showed before, Move the World with Words, we took that tagline and we transcreated it into the languages that you can see in the sheet here. And really what we did was we created multiple options and provided back translations for every language so that the translator and also the customer, which in this case was Adrian, could really see what we were doing. Here you're looking at the Portuguese example where the translator provided 4 options for back translations and then selected their favorite option, which I believe that we ended up using. So people have been using spreadsheets to get this work done. Transcreation, as we mentioned multiple times already, is extremely creative. It requires a lot of research, and that's why these options and these back translations are so important here. And I see Adrian just threw in the chat, if anyone here speaks Portuguese or can tell from the back translation, feel free to put in what option you would choose if you were Adrian in this case. And no hard feelings if you didn't choose the one we did. But yeah, so exactly, this has historically all been done in the spreadsheet format. And then I think we all might have encountered these struggles of the real problems with spreadsheets, right? There's really no process here. Everything is sent back and forth via email. Work can get lost. There's no way to record what's been done. There's no way to track it. There's no way to integrate it with all of our connectors and all of our automations that you like so much about Smartling. And then the question always of visual context of how, when you're working in a spreadsheet, that's a lot harder to actually get here. So we thought that would be a good idea to take this process that is so manual right now and do what Smartling does best, which is automate it. And what you're looking at is the result. We've really taken the essence of that spreadsheet, right? The multiple options, the back translations, the preferred option that you see here, and put it into Smartling.
This is really cool, Sophia. And I just wanted to quickly point out that we had a handful of people respond to the question in the chat. And while the dominant choice is option number 3, change the world with words, I think it's worth noting that translation and transcreation is such an interesting domain because people's personal preferences come into play. And the preferences not only of the individual, but of the brand definitely contribute to what options a client would choose for their own content. And that's why it's so important to have that ability to have multiple options presented and the ability to communicate with the translator.
Yeah, that's actually why these options were created, right? Because it is so subjective, and it really just goes down to the customer. So to take it back to what makes our transcreation tool different than our regular CAT tool is all the things that we've been talking about. The transcreation tool is really designed to support this type of transcreation, these taglines, these creative, funny quips that we love to propagate. So really you can, as we showed you before, you add multiple translation options. You can provide back translation if you so choose. And you can also write in the tool, note your favorite translation or your preferred. And then if you add more steps to the workflow, that can actually become a conversation and be changed along the way. Whereas the CAT tool, as we said, I measure the success of the CAT tool based on the speed a translator can successfully, accurately deliver a word. So we have all of these really fun features like auto-propagating and pre-populating strings already, so that the work is done or suggested for the translator as they're going. All of these quality checks that help the translator flag any issues in a really efficient manner. And then also this whole incorporating of machine translation, which is a really, really helpful and important tool. But one that, as we've seen, and I think we've demonstrated, doesn't really help that much for transcreation, because how can machine translation really accurately depict this "give me some more" example here?
Well, let's dive into a demo, shall we? Gabby, I'll let you share your screen.
Yeah. So here is the landing page of the Transcreation tool. So it's pretty much, well, for those who know, the main panel, the job panel of the CAD tool is pretty much the same. So then I just move this around and I open it. And first of all, it's taken away. I'm seeing here the attachment that the marketing team has already loaded, and it's the briefing, the marketing briefing. And that's the main thing. The first thing I would do if I had to transcreate is look at the briefing to know what they are expecting, what message they are expecting us to convey. And so I'm looking for my slogan now, and we're going to work with this one. So I'm adding my first option. Sorry. Is it? And then my back translation in case. And then I'm gonna add a second one. Because here it's very tricky one. You can go very soon, at least in Spanish, it can go very vulgar soon. So we need to be careful. All right, now third one. I have some and that's it. I could mark my favorite one would be this one, at least in Argentina, and then I submit. And that's it. I don't know if it's anything else you would like me to talk about.
No, I think one of the important things to note here is we took a different approach with Transcreation, where once you submit, you do have the option to still see it in your workflow. And that's sort of what Adrian was talking about, this idea of working together, collaboration. If I want to talk about an option, if I want to see that someone has changed the preferred option, I can do that here. So it's an important part of that collaborative workflow.
Gabby, there's a question from the audience. Why tea and not milk?
Because that's how we say in Argentina our tea time, or in Spanish, at least in Latin America, tea time is milk for us. We say we're gonna have milk, but it's your tea time. And I'm trying to convey the idea to my project manager.
That's so cool. And I think that it's so important that you have the ability to ask that question, Brian, of the translator directly, because this is not the first time that there would be a back translation that may not fully make sense to the content owner. And having that direct line of communication with the translator, multiple options for which you can consider, is super important. And last time we we did a webinar in Transcreation, there were a lot of options proposed for a different phrase, which was whale of a time. And there were a lot of transcreations that were offered that rolled off the tongue nicely, depending on the language. And that also has an impact on what choice a customer may utilize here. So having the back translation is step one, but also the next step is being able to communicate directly with Gabby to get some information about why that would be the right choice for the target. Just trying to see, are there any other questions? We had a question, can you add comments or queries? Sophia, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so this is a tool that we're currently working on right now, where you'll be able to add issues like you do in the standard CAT tool, with a little bit of a spruced up design here really quickly, but we're actually working on building a fully integrated commenting tool here. And we have engineers working on this tool right now as we speak. So every week we're shipping new features here. And this commenting feature, I'm extremely excited about because we really want it to focus on the interaction.
And another question, Sophia, can you edit already published or submitted content?
So it depends on your access to the workflow. Much of Smartling is based on these workflow automations that look different to the different users who are working on it. But yes, if you set the workflow up like that, you can edit published or submitted content.
Another question for you, Sophia. How do you handle situations where not a single tagline, but the structure of the sentence or paragraph should be rephrased to bring the same message across?
Yeah, so this tool is specifically designed for these taglines, for this marketing content, for these brand dependent slogans, but it is also a really flexible CAT tool. So we don't have the same segmentation rules that we do have in standard CAT tool. So when you're working in this tool, we really just focus on pulling out these blocks of text and giving more flexibility to the translator as they're going.
A couple more questions are coming in, Sophia, so I'm going to throw them at you.
Mm-hmm.
Does the client project manager choose to write the preferred option to the translation memory? Do the back translations also get written to the translation memory?
Yeah, so for the TM, we only store the preferred option, and that can be selected at any point in the workflow. So really, if you were the project manager and you wanted to have control over that final option, all you would need to do is go in and prefer the option. So really, and the TM, as we know, is a living, breathing thing. So if you went in and updated the preferred option, we would update what we saved in the TM.
Cool. Another couple questions here. One of them I'll answer from Holger. Is there a picture with got milk in the context field if you scroll? We just created a basic Google Doc here or Word doc, Holger, for this demo. So we've put in a lot of different taglines just so that we could easily demo the experience. But this is the full visual context interface. So if you're able to submit context either through the global delivery network or through our Chrome context extension, or by adding a screenshot, then it would appear in the context editor, just like it does in the CAT tool.
We support all of the context that the standard CAT tool does. So if there is visual context, this tool will pick it up. I made a Word doc here. There's no visual context, but as you can see, we have bare bones visual context here.
Cool. And I think we already answered this, but we can edit published or submitted content. Great. And then let me see, could we, for example, okay, great. How is the TM handled? All right, so that's a good question. Michelle asks, how is the translation memory handled, Sophia?
Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, this is a feature that we are currently working on. We expect this to be rolled out in January, but one of the things that we're working on is allowing you to have a separate transcreation TM inside of one linguistic package. So for those, depending on your level of familiarity with Smartling, a linguistic package is essentially a bundle of your TM, style guide, glossary, all of the things that help people translate, and you're able to segment that on Smartling projects. And right now, you can only have one translation memory per linguistic package per project, but we are adding the ability to have one transcreation translation memory and one standard translation memory in the same package. And then all strings for your transcreation translation memory will be routed automatically to the transcreation TM. And you'll have the option to leverage that however you choose. Should you choose to leverage the translation and transcreation TMs one-to-one and have everything cross over, fine. Should you choose to keep them completely separate, also fine.
Sophia, I'm going to hit you with a couple more. You mentioned that you can see what has been edited as the team collaborates on the options. How are changes tracked in the tool or visually represented?
Yeah, so I see here you mentioned some sort of red text. We do have a separate report that is a string changes report where all of the changes show up, and that's really the focus of what you're doing there. But what we do have here is the string history, which is where you can go and granularly check each string and go through and see, oh, who was this assigned to? Who worked on this? Who saved this translation? Who preferred this option? And we're adding more and more to the string history every day.
Awesome. Awesome. A lot of great questions. Thank you so much. And keep them
Yeah,
coming.
I hope we got all of them.
Yeah, I think there are a couple more. And there's one from Paula that I appreciate. And we're actually going to, in a minute, talk a little bit about how do you start using the Transcreation tool. But the question is, if you're already using Smartling for transcreation, would you recommend moving it over to this new Transcreation tool?
Yes. In short, if you have the content that you're translating fits this content type, right? These catchy slogans where you really want translators to do research, think, take their time really focusing on this, then yes, certainly.
Awesome. Now we're going to answer two questions at once, Sophia. And these are two really, really important questions. And Gabby, I'd also love to get your input on this as well. The first question is, and I'm paraphrasing here, why is this any better than a spreadsheet? And the second question is, how do you get translations, I'm going to say transcreations out of the tool? Now, I'm going to kick it off here for a second because I think these are two really important questions, and they're tied in together. One of the key benefits of the Transcreation tool is that it operates as part of our translation management system. So, part of the problem with translating or transcreating in a spreadsheet is that you have to get the content into the spreadsheet. Now, it's possible that you're going to export content out of your content management system and it will be in a spreadsheet. But when you get the translations back from your translator or language services provider, you've got to get the translations from that spreadsheet back into your content management system, and that's work. Whereas with Smartling, you have integration so that all of your content, no matter what repository it's coming from, is automatically submitted to the translation management system, entered into a transcreation or translation workflow, which will determine which CAT tool or transcreation tool opens. And then when the string is completed, it will automatically go back to the place where it came from. So you automate the process surrounding translation and transcreation with Smartling, and that provides a lot of value to our customers. But Sophia, why don't you maybe add a little bit more color as to what your perspective is on that question? And Gabby, it would be great to hear your thoughts as well from the point of view of a translator.
Yeah, I think, this is essentially why Smartling was created, right? The automations that you have in Smartling, the different ways you can incorporate transcreation with a workflow, the way it routes automatically to the correct person, also the cost savings that you get and quality improvements that you get from the translation memory. All of this you can't get in a spreadsheet. One of the cool things about this is, you're creating these taglines that should be for your brand, right? And will probably be seen and appear in your copy hundreds of times. Now, every time that you've saved a translation on here, should the string appear again, we'll automatically translate it with the same translation. So these kinds of, this is why I love using Smartling, because all of these things really help speed up, drive costs down, and just improve the quality and experience for the people actually doing the project management too.
Gabby, what would you add to that?
Well, I think as a localizer, it's version control. one of the key things. So you don't have to be sure, you don't have to verify, to check which is the last version, you already have it. And then another thing is that it's known that the more steps you add, or the more people that are in, then the more prone to errors, involuntary errors, the process is. So here you get the best of two worlds. You get the management, so the translation process management, and the actual tool to translate. And I, as a translator, I'm working at different time zones. I don't have to worry that you got the mail with the last version of my translation. I just will submit, and I know it's okay. Someone is going, the next person in the chain is going to get it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this was mentioned. It probably was, and I just didn't hear it. But if I were to give you, Gabby, or any of the other translators on the call the string "give me s'more" without any context, I think it would be a pretty challenging string to transcreate. Would you agree with that, Gabby?
Yeah, I couldn't do that without any context. Or I know, I can assume what they want and what I know about Shake Shacks. Shake Shack is very well known everywhere, but maybe that's not the case with all the brands, or they are new to the market. And we all know a lot of marketing fails or offensive taglines or things that were not rendered well. I need to know that. If I need to know, I need to have context every time, but with this content, this is especially high profile, you need to be very careful.
Awesome. Yeah, Sophia just put into the chat, context is king. And it is super, super important to have context with all of your content that you're translating or transcreating. Got a couple more questions, and then I think we'll keep moving on. One of the questions is, can you export the content to a CSV? The answer is yes. All content that is entered into Smartling is stored in our cloud-based translation management system in your translation memory. Your being the key word there. You own it. You're paying to translate the content. We're storing the data for you. You can export it whenever you want and in a CSV file format. It's yours. Anytime you need it, we give it to you, and you can actually do it 100% yourself. Another question that came in, Sophia, and I think this is a technical question, and I think I know the answer, but I'd love for you to add the response. Would you be able to use both tools, Transcreation and Cat Tool, in the same translation job? How would you separate the strings for each tool? And maybe Sophia, it makes sense for you to take the screen share. I'll take the screen share back because we can talk a little bit about how to set this up.
Yeah, so the short answer to that is yes. I think we're going to go into more detail, but really what transcreation is it is all dependent on this workflow. So the transcreation workflow really just tells the content what path it should take. And when you have this transcreation workflow, any content that is in the transcreation workflow, regardless of job status, regardless of anything else, will go to the transcreation tool. We also have a built-in transcreation review step, and that is essentially the transcreation tool, but with a few more review features. So if you were to, say, have a job that's your entire blog, and there's one slogan that you really want to transcreate, and the rest of the content, you can just go into the standard translation workflow. All you would do is just move that string into the transcreation workflow. You can also set up a dynamic workflow, which is another Smartling feature that will automatically route content for you depending on rules. So you can have a dynamic workflow that will make certain URLs always go to transcreation, and other URLs always go to translation, and then just automate your content authorization that way. So very long-winded way to answer this question, but it's really up to you. There's a lot of flexibility here, and the goal is to just make it as easy and configurable for the user. So yeah, so once you have the workflow set up, any content that you authorize will go straight into the transcreation workflow. And then from there, this is an example job, the one that Gabby just worked on actually, and anything that you click on here will go straight into the transcreation tool rather than the cat tool.
And Sophia, we're going to present the next slide, but while I maybe take the slide back for a moment, would you be able to pull up a project so that we can actually show what it's like to authorize content to a transcreation?
Of course, yeah. Give me just 1 sec.
Well, I'll take this slide for you while you pull that up. So it really is simple. As soon as you have this transcreation workflow set up, as we described here, content will automatically open the transcreation tool, which we've just demoed, and it looks like this. So there's no action for the translator. When they go to open the string, it will open the transcreation tool. And if there are translations and they go to open the string, it will open the cat tool.
Yep, so I can share my screen right now if you guys think that would be helpful. Right now, what you're looking at is my really fun, messy test project. So cool. But here we have this job that I authorized for Gabby, this transcreation taglines. And all I did was put that into the transcreation workflow. So really what that looks like when we're doing this is all you would do is request translation, choose the project you want to do. For this, it's my test project. Select a file, and then authorize into the right workflow like any other job. So we did that here, and it led to this transcreation job, which if you click on it, you can see it looks just like any other job, but if you check the workflow, everything here is in the transcreation step. And this is because Gabby has been submitting this as we go. But everything here that I click on, strings are standard. Here's what it looks like in the normal strings view. And then as I go into edit in cat tool, rather than the cat tool, what will appear is as Gabby just showed you. And I'm ready to start transcreating.
Awesome. And as the project manager, you will have a list of strings in your strings view, and you can bulk select content that you want to be submitted to the translation workflow versus a transcreation workflow. So there's a huge amount of control that you have over your content, who's translating it, what the deadlines are, things like that. Can you see, here's another question from Christy. Can you see the transcreation in context and see the transcreation options in the WYSIWYG format?
Yeah, so whenever you prefer an option, that option will appear in the context. So if you want to go and see multiple options, see how it'll look, you just star different options and that will appear for you.
Yeah, and here's an example of this actually in action where the starred option is appearing in context here on this slide.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's important to just remind everybody here that Smartling is a full service translation agency. We have hundreds of translators that we partner with worldwide. Gabby is one of them, and I see a lot of friends on this call today who are learning about the transcreation tool. And they're great resources for our customers to translate everything in their portfolio, ranging from marketing content to medical specific content to transcreations. We also offer services for transcription and subtitle translation, desktop publishing, international search engine optimization translation, quality assurance, and we also work with customers to build and maintain their linguistic assets like their glossary and style guide and creative briefs for transcreation. So if you're not using Smartling's language services and you'd like to learn more, head on over to our webpage, and I'll drop that into the chat in a moment. It looks like we have a question, but I think we'll answer that one offline. I think there are some key benefits to the transcreation tool as we pointed out, and this is super important. The transcreation tool was built with translators who use the tool, the CAT tool, and who are accustomed to transcreating content. So we got a lot of input from the translators who work in these tools day in and day out. And we also got a lot of input from our customers who are creating transcreation projects on a regular basis. And we really couldn't have done this without that network and support. So we are really grateful to all of the people who've contributed to the development of this tool. And it really is important to us that when we build products that they match the use cases of our customers and our translators. So thank you to those of you who participated. And as we've covered before, visual context makes it easier to translate clever, punny content that may not translate literally. So having that WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, interface is a major advancement over a spreadsheet and the other ways of transcreating content. You're able to easily draft 3 options with back translation. So as the native speaker, like me, I unfortunately don't speak any other languages at present. I'll understand what the intent is and the tone is of the different options that are presented by the translator. And then you have the ability to collaborate with the translator to ensure that you're selecting the right option. So these are some of the key benefits of the transcreation tool. We made an awesome graphic that explains all of this in 4 simple frames. It looks like we got a couple more questions from the audience, so I'm gonna pull those and read those out. Is the transcreation tool a plugin to the CAT tool, or a separate tool that creates a transcreation translation memory to be put with the regular translation project?
Yeah, so the transcreation tool is not only the tool, it's also the workflow. So when a string is authorized into the transcreation workflow, it will automatically be routed into that transcreation TM. And then you can leverage that with your standard translation TM as you so choose. But it is, the transcreation tool is not a plug-in to the CAT tool. It actually is a completely separate tool, technically. So it is, in lieu of the CAT tool.
Brian's asked, Brian's made a point here, and I think I'll just reemphasize how important it is to have both the ability to use translators and transcreation services. The comment was, we're looking for a service for documentation. And earlier in the presentation, just in case, Brian, you didn't see this particular slide, I think this is it. There's a whole range of translation services out on the marketplace, everything from machine translation to a single paths of human translation, all the way up to transcreation, which is the most expensive form of translation, but it's also at the higher price point because it's typically used for your most valued content. And what we do as your partner is we work with you to identify the right balance, the right mix of spend based on your budget and your content so that you get good value out of your investment in translation. Because at the end of the day, localizing your website or your mobile app or your help center into 1 or 2 or 10 languages, it's not going to be inexpensive. It's something that you have to focus on and leverage to create business value for your company. And we have a lot of strategies and tactics that we utilize to ensure that you have a competitive advantage in your domain. And we'd be excited to partner with you on that process. If you license the CAT tool already, do we have to pay separately for the transcreation tool? At present, the answer, Michelle, is no. This tool is something that we want you to utilize and get comfortable with and start taking advantage of right now. So it's super easy to get started with the transcreation tool. All you have to do is set up a new workflow, which I have confidence that you know how to do and get started with right away. And if you don't, our customer success team would be more than happy to assist you in that process. I think we've got one more question that's come in, Sophia. This is a cool question. Our goal is to have the best website text that's SEO optimized in every language to have our website ranked in a high position. That's important. The challenge is that each language, English, Spanish, German, Italian, has different structure of text, and it's not the same. Is this tool not the solution to this issue?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the text that we're talking about. The transcreation tool isn't designed for super long form transcreation. It's designed for you to be able to really focus on one line at a time. So if you're talking about, paragraphs and paragraphs and totally reorganizing and reshaping the document, no, the transcreation tool here is not going to be the ideal fit for you. But if you're talking about reorganizing sentences or taking line by line and really trying to reorganize there, then yes, the transcreation tool does provide much more flexibility than a standard CAT tool does. Hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Sophia.
I see one from Jean-Francois. Are you limited to 3 translations per string? The answer is no. You can add however many you or your customer would like.
Awesome. Well, this has been fabulous. Oh, we got another question from Cindy. Do you have the option to work on the structure of the content then? Do you have the option to work on the structure of the content?
Yeah, so if you're talking about completely reorganizing content, like moving on paragraphs and stuff, that's not something that we really have specialized because it really can completely change the format of the file. However, it is something that we are looking into. So we want to see, might not be available for all file types. It might not be available for all different types of sites as well, but we are looking into research for that. So.
Awesome. Gabby, this has been so much fun having you here today. I really appreciate it. Gabby, maybe, as we start to close out, I think it would be interesting for people to learn a little bit more about what it's like to be a translator and work on transcreations. What are some of the unique challenges that you face working remotely, thousands of miles away from your client? And, what is it like for you to start your day and get into projects that are so creative? How does it work?
Oh, it's great fun, but it's very, very thought consuming. You're like into it, and then you cannot stop because the next good idea maybe when you're just sleeping or having a shower. So maybe you cannot stop thinking. And that's a good thing because this is iterative. So avoiding this back and forth is very useful because it's usually not the best. The first option you get is not usually the best. You have to work on that. As we tested the tool in July, I think it was, we worked with Whale Hello there, and it was very specific. It had a rhythm, it had a use of language, puns. So we had to think. I started by researching what was that whale. It was a British Natural Science, I think, museum, Natural History Museum, the London Natural History Museum. So I started to research what was that whale, how was she called. Then I started to make groups, family of words related to fish and whale in Spanish and in English, and trying to mimic that short phrase. So it takes longer, but it's super fun. It's you see your work in action right away, and that's very, very, very rewarding, I should say. It's nice. I think it's what every translator wanted to do when we started to learn how to translate.
That's beautiful. One of the things I like to think about for transcreation is, for the source content, marketing teams spend weeks, months researching these types of amazing slogans, and really to deliver the message of the brand. And then it's such an important role for the translator working on transcreation to be able to put that same sort of consideration and effort and care into these transcreations. So it's really exciting.
Awesome. Sophia.
And then you feel, and then you feel you're part of the team, and then you're flagging things before they happen, before they might happen. So they know. That's the spirit, the aim of localization.
Awesome. Well, I don't know what better way to wrap up then. That was well said, Gabby and Sophia. Thank you both so much. And to everybody who's joined today, thank you so much for spending about an hour with us. We hope this was helpful. Let us know what you think either in the chat or send me a note after the email. We'll be sending you a follow-up and we'd love to get your feedback. And we'll hang out for another minute or two to answer any other lingering questions that you may have. But otherwise, we thank you again for your time and we hope you have a great holiday season and a happy new year. Great. And if you are just hanging here, we will have a recording. It'll be posted on our website, so you'll be able to watch it later. You are most welcome. Thank you so much, everybody. Fantastic. All right. I think we'll wrap it up. Take care. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.